Welcome. It's February 25th, Tuesday. We're in Studio 1A with Mr. John J. Jeckovich. It's my pleasure and honor to speak with Mr. John J. Jeckovich. He's a World War II hero that was on the front lines of many wars, including the Battle of Bulge. Mr. Jeckovich was from Company H, the 2nd Battalion of the new 291st Regiment of the 75th Infantry Division of the U.S. Army during World War II. Mr. Jeckovich lives by the motto, yesterday is history, tomorrow is a mystery. Yeah, tomorrow is a mystery. Man plans and God laughs. Today is a gift. Yes, sir. Today is a gift. Boys and girls, it's a short dance around the sun, so enjoy it. Like Mr. Jeckovich.
Right.
Mr. Jeckovich is knocking on the door of 100. Mr. Jeckovich is knocking on the door of 100. You recently told me a few weeks ago you blinked your eye at 20 and you're 100, right? You feel like you're 20, then automatically you're 100. It went by so quickly. So, it's a short dance around the sun. Enjoy every day of it. Every day is a gift. Mr. Jeckovich, I need your dog tag number.
42965.
Okay. I heard you had a special visitor today.
Well, Amber, yeah.
What a wonderful girl. She came to several hours again today to sit and talk to Mr. Jeckovich.
Went to lunch with me, too.
Oh, lunch? Okay.
Yeah.
You two, does she read the Bible to you much?
No, she doesn't talk about it too much, no.
Oh, okay. Because she's a full-time missionary and an avid surfer. She surfed all around the world. In fact, she's in church right now. What a wonderful, kind girl. What a wonderful, kind girl. Well, what's your dog tag number?
42965.
Okay. We have a lot of text messages to read, or do you want me to read some of your book? What do you want to do?
Text messages.
Okay. All right, let's pick up on some. Remember, they're from all walks of life, so don't let any one of these offend you or take it wrong. If you don't feel like answering something, don't. Mr. Jeckovich, has the economy ever impacted your parents during the Great Depression?
Oh, yeah. My father was laid off. My mother had to work 2 jobs, worked for Kresge's and worked as a cook.
So it was hard.
Well, they had to make ends meet.
Mr. Jeckovich was born in 1925, right in the beginning of the Great Depression. And at that time, gasoline was 7 cents a gallon. You could fill up your big monster car for $1.50. Groceries were 10 to 12 bucks for a week for a family of 4. A brand new a nice house with a decent lot, was $2,000. The average, if you did finance it, but most people didn't have a mortgage or didn't qualify for a mortgage back then. It wasn't popular getting a mortgage as it is today. Your monthly payments would be like 50 or
So I went to Mr. Bill and paid a mortgage on my father's house every month. He got a notebook. I went in there, gave him $25 or 25.
Oh, okay. Well, I didn't know this. What was his name? Belvin?
Mr. Belvin, yeah.
Is that Belvin?
Yeah.
Yeah, Mr. Belvin was a long-time generation of realtors.
Oh, yeah.
I think there's still a generation at Niagara Falls of the Belvin.
He was top man there.
Yeah. So let me ask you, so every month, I didn't know this. I'm glad you brought this up. Every month, you would go take the mortgage payment to Mr. Belvin.
And pay for it.
How much was the monthly mortgage?
It was $125.
$125. That was a lot of money then. But let me ask you something. Where did you go to pay this mortgage at?
I went to Mr. Bill's house.
Where did he live?
On an exclusive neighborhood.
Where?
And I had an exclusive neighborhood up away from the city.
In DeVoe?
Huh? In DeVoe, probably, yeah.
Okay. And what did you do? Bring cash to him, or did you give a check?
No, cash.
And he wrote it in. Tell us how he gave you a receipt.
Get a notebook. I had a notebook. He crashed it off in a notebook.
Were you there when the final payment was made?
No, I was in the service then.
Okay, then the final payment was made.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's a good point. We learn something new every day. Mr. Jeckovich, what's your view on abortion?
It's ridiculous.
Okay. Mr. Jeckovich, how do you feel about same-sex marriages?
It's ridiculous.
San Francisco. Okay. What do you feel today, Mr. Jeckovich, are the most important problems facing our country now?
Not facing our country.
Yeah, right now, what's the most important problems?
It's too hectic now. Nobody seems to know what's going on. They all want to they want to make the money. They want to make the money. That's all they want to do is make the money.
Mr. Jeckovich, how do you view the world today?
World today, hectic.
Hectic, okay. Mr. Jeckovich, in the past, which presidents have you voted for?
Which president? Roosevelt.
Okay. Who do you think the best president was?
Who was president? Roosevelt.
Roosevelt, okay. Mr. Jeckovich, how did the civil
23 minutes.
rights movement or the women's liberation movement affect your family?
Not too much.
Not too much.
That was all black versus blacks and all that nonsense.
Mr. Jeckovich, what are your views on voting?
Voting, you should vote.
Okay.
You should participate in your community.
Mr. Jeckovich, are you a Republican or a Democrat?
I'm probably a Democrat. My father and mother were Democrats, so I just followed
Did your
along.
mother and father vote?
Huh?
Did your mother and father vote?
Yeah, my father did, my mother did.
Mr. Jeckovich, what wars did you fight during your lifetime?
What wars? World War II.
World War II. By the way, World War II, there were 16,400,000 young American men and women who fought, who were part of World War II, and we have very little left, especially the combat guys in the front line with Mr. Jeckovich. The ones that are surviving now are in their late 90s or early 100s, and there's approximately 6,000 World War II combat veterans left, like Mr. Jeckovich, and we're losing them at a rate of 150 a day. So soon we won't have any. So here's your time to ask Mr. Jeckovich, a true World War II veteran, any questions via text. And the number to text is 407-366-0000. Mr. Jeckovich will be glad to answer your text, and also he'll return your call if you wish. He'll return your call if you wish. And Mr. Jeckovich's mind is like a library, so he hopes to have good advice for you to make your life a little easier.
Oh, yeah.
Mr. Jeckovich, I had several texts over the last 2 days. How much is your book, and where could I buy it?
You can't buy it. It's not for sale.
Mr. Jeckovich's book is not for sale or never will be for sale. Mr. Jeckovich's book is just like a roadmap to help younger people have an easier life, to learn by his mistakes that you might not make them, and you could have a smoother life.
Remember when we sent that book in? I told you we're not going to get it republished. We could send it the way I made it. It's all sort of we used to look at. It's all bundled up, but it's all in order.
Yeah.
It was the original book.
Yeah. Oh,
I said put the original book, and that's it. Remember that?
Yeah, I do. And there's one copy, original copy, in the World War II Museum in New Orleans, but none of the books are for sale. It's just a roadmap Mr. Jeckovich laid out for making lives of younger people a little bit easier, And that's all it's about. It's nothing more than that. Making lives of young people a little easier. Mr. Jeckovich, his generation, is known as the best generation that ever exists. And after reading his book, I do believe so. I do believe so. It's nothing like most people today. We didn't even know Mr. Jeckovich was on the front lines, was a combat soldier until a few years ago. It's the guys that do all the fighting and watch all the death and destruction. They don't talk. It's the ones on the rear echelon that tell all the fantastic stories, because none of them ever witnessed the pain and the hatred of a war. A frontline soldier hates the war more than anybody else. A frontline soldier hates the wars more than anybody.
Well, he's living it.
Yeah, that's so true. So text Mr. Jeckovich any questions, and we'll continue answer them to the best of our ability. Best of our ability. Okay, let's see what else we got. Mr. Jeckovich, how is the world today different from when you were a boy in 1925?
100% different.
In which way?
It was more regulated, more homely, more God-given than it is today.
Okay, let's use this by an example. You had your laundromats 50 years ago you owned. How did people take care of your laundromats?
They were poor, but they were very well. They were considerate.
Never
and
any
loving.
damage.
Never damaged. Never real considerate.
They treated everyone with respect.
Yeah.
How do you think it would be today if you opened a self-serve laundromat?
Never happened. Never happened.
What do you think would happen?
They tear it up just for spiteful.
Just in one day?
Yeah.
You'd be out of business.
Yeah.
I believe you. And recently I read an article in New York
Different
City.
Different culture.
Recently I read an article in the newspaper that 49 self-serve laundromats in
New York City.
were vandalized by illegal aliens, and they were destroyed so badly that the mom and pop owners could never recover. They could never pick up the pieces again. So that is right what you said. Mr. Jeckovich, a Red Cross passed out cigarettes, non-filtered cigarettes, during World War II like candy bars. Did you ever smoke?
No, never smoked. I gave them to somebody that was in the company.
So if the war didn't kill these youngsters, 20 or 30 years later, the cigarettes
Yeah.
Mr. Jeckovich, during World War II, did you have any addictions?
Addictions?
Yeah.
No.
Mr. Jeckovich, do you have any regrets?
Regrets?
Regrets of any type?
Well, I should have gone to college regular. Well, I went to college. I went to night school after that. I did my duty. Yeah, I did it.
And you could have went under the GI Bill.
Oh yeah,
You still can if
PL-16.
you
PL-16, yeah. Could have built a house and everything.
Mr. Jeckovich, during World War II, did you ever meet anyone famous?
Anyone famous?
Bob Hope?
No, I came close to it was Franchelton.
But you worked for Franchetone.
My father worked with him. We worked in the cellar and everything else.
Yeah, on his big mansion on Buffalo Avenue, Franchetone. I'm glad you brought that up. That's a very interesting story. Franchetone was dating Betty Grable at the time.
Yeah.
And they had a beautiful mansion on Niagara Falls. I mean, literally on Niagara Falls. In his backyard, you see the rapids rushing down hundreds of miles an hour. You hear the thunder a couple hundred feet down of the falls dropping, the roaring of the falls. It was the most beautiful property. And what type of work did you do there?
Well, my father and I would put up storm windows. We did a fruit cellar for him down south. This is cement work for him.
Yeah. So you did a lot of work for Franchetone.
Oh yeah.
So ironically, they're all dead. And in '61, the property was, the estate sold the property at 151 Buffalo Avenue, Niagara Falls, New York, to a company that put in apartments. They weren't called condominiums in the '60s. Apartments in 1961 called Parkway Apartments.
Yeah, they're still there.
It's still sitting on that property.
Yeah.
I imagine it suffers from great functional obsolescence from being 60 years old,
Yeah.
low ceilings, small bathrooms.
Low-income people in there.
Yeah, and that used to be where the Franchitone Mansion would sit. Yeah, that's amazing. That Parkway apartment. So Google it, you'll see where the Franchitone Mansion was that Mr. Jeckovich used to work at. What movie most inspired you, Mr. Jeckovich?
Latest movie?
No, in your lifetime.
Well, I haven't been to movies in a long time.
Well, you were an usher when you were a young boy, as a teenager.
Yeah.
So you went to a lot of movies. There's one movie that particularly stood out.
Well, that was with Humphrey Bogart and Lorraine McCall in the Deep Sleep.
Oh, I see. And you were an usher there, right?
I was an usher there,
In
yeah.
Strand and Cadillac Theaters.
Casablanca.
Huh?
Casablanca,
Casablanca, yeah.
13, yeah.
What kind of books do you like to read, Mr. Jeckovich?
History and English books, yeah.
Ironic story about Mr. Jeckovich's growing up. Did you join a club?
No.
Book of the Month Club?
I had Book of the Month Club, yeah, they sent a report every month.
And how times have changed. Mr. Jeckovich would have to run to the mailbox. Tell us why.
Because my mother said you're spending more money on books, I had to get the book and put it underneath the bed.
Yeah. Yeah. Could you imagine? Today, a mother would just be ecstatic if their kid would read a book.
Yeah, and they don't want to know nothing about it.
I don't think they have books. Everything is in their damn phone. Wow. So you had to hide that book from your mother.
Yeah.
'Cause she thought you were wasting time and money.
Well, they give me a report every month.
Yeah.
Book of the Month Club, I belonged that
That was
for
very
10,
interesting.
15 years.
Wow.
I used to read 3 or 4 books a week.
And you still, well, you read 3 newspapers today every morning.
Yeah.
And Mr. Jeckovich, by the way, reads 3 newspapers every morning before 9 p.m. with no glasses.
No, with glasses I'm using because the print's getting smaller and the distance between the threads getting smaller too.
I've never seen you use glasses, but that's just absolutely amazing. Mr. Jeckovich goes to bed about 2 in the morning, up at 6, gets ready and has a nice breakfast and starts reading those papers. What a schedule. How could a person 20 or 30 years go without such little sleep? So you don't get much sleep, do you?
No, I get enough sleep.
Okay. Mr. Jeckovich, how many times have you been engaged?
How many? Once.
Once. Mr. Jeckovich was engaged to Delphine Stulack, and they met at the dance hall in Main Street in Buffalo. What was that dance hall's name? Delwood?
Delwood Ballroom.
Delwood Ballroom. And then after courting Delphine Stulack for approximately 8 months, he took Delphine to the Roman Catholic Basilica in Lackawanna, New York, asked for her hand in marriage, and then they went to the altar of the basilica, said a short prayer asking God for a long and happy marriage. Was that prayer answered?
Sure it was, yeah, in the 69 years.
How many?
60.
There you go. It's a good example for people getting married. Some type of prayer on the altar. Ask for...
And at that time we talked to the priest. The priest was there checking candles while we were there. He stopped by and talked to us for a while.
Ah, I see. That was wonderful. So you were engaged one time and married once, right?
That's it.
When did you decide to marry Mr. Jeckovich?
Well, I think I knew Delphine 6 months before we started talking about it, yeah.
Okay. Do you believe marriages can last forever, Mr. Jeckovich?
Oh, yeah.
What are your views on divorce, Mr. Jeckovich?
Well, they happen too often.
Yes, you're right. 90,000 divorces in Florida last year alone. And keep in mind, most of these divorces are related to financial reasons. So get your life in order before you each say, I do.
A lot of them are caused by faith. They have no faith between each other.
Yeah.
They start cheating on one another.
Yeah.
They all have side issues.
Yeah, well, they have it's nicknamed today, you have a house husband, that's the guy you married, and then you have a work husband. That's pretty much common, because the lady today spends more time with the work husband because she's always working and he's always there. Let's see.
Yeah, these women pick up a relationship with the people they're working for.
Yeah.
Usually the male.
Yeah. Mr. Jeckovich, what was your wedding day like?
Cold and damp. February.
Mr. Jeckovich, you knocking on the door of 100. Do you remember who your first date was?
Who my first date was? Yeah, the little girl from Bazzelli on Niagara Street. Bazzelli's milk egg marker or something. The
What
daughter.
was her name, you remember?
Agnes.
I'll be damned.
Agnes Bazzelli.
I'll be damned. Mr. Jeckovich, what advice would you give your grandchildren on his or her wedding day? What advice would you give your grandchildren on his or her wedding day?
Well, it's too late to give them the advice because they're going to get married now.
That's a good point. You're a quick thinker.
You're too late for the advice now.
Well, what advice would you give to them before their wedding day?
I said, make sure you know what you're doing and don't rush into it. Don't let your emotions get away with you.
Mr. Jeckovich, where did you go on your honeymoon?
We're in Poconos.
Tell us about what the Poconos is.
Oh, it was a beautiful place. We went back there with the kids when they got old enough.
Mr. Jeckovich, who was your first sibling? Who was your oldest sibling?
Oldest, J.K.
No, sibling. Who was your oldest brother or sister?
Oh, my brother and sister was Steve.
Okay, did you get along good with him?
Well, no, I never seen him.
Oh. Why did you never see him?
Well, he was going to school,
Oh, okay.
and then he belonged to the Boy Scouts.
Oh,
Troop 22, 4th Rhine River.
why did you join the Boy Scouts?
I went there a couple of times. It wasn't for me.
Okay. Okay.
Steve got merit badges for doing stuff with the Boy Scouts.
Oh, yeah?
Forrest Reynolds.
Mr. Jeckovich, what is your fondest memory of your family, like your mother and father, your brothers and sister?
We feel so good when they were home. My father was so good. My father wasn't really a gregarious guy anyway. You couldn't sit down and talk to the father and son at all.
No.
You had to talk to my mother.
Okay.
My father was I was more aloof.
Yeah. Your father was more aloof than your mother. Okay. As a teenager, Mr. Jeckovich, were you rebellious?
A what?
As a teenager, were you rebellious?
A what?
When you were a teenager, were you rebellious? A troublemaker?
At home?
Yeah.
No.
As a youth, did you ever join the Boy Scouts? You mentioned it, but did you ever join?
No. I went with my brother a couple of times. I didn't care for it. Forrest Reynolds and all that stuff. Stevie was real gregarious. He loved that stuff.
Okay. Have you ever been fired from a job?
No.
Have you ever quit a job?
I did as a grad, Kimberly Clark, yeah.
Why'd you quit?
I had enough.
Mr. Jeckovich worked at Kimberly Clark right out of the military, right out of World War II, for 35 years. How'd you get to work for those 35 years?
Unemployment office.
No, how'd you get to work for 35 years of working?
Walking.
What would you do during a snowstorm?
Walk.
What would you do during a blizzard, a rainstorm?
Walk.
Okay. Mr. Jeckovich's tires never entered the Kimberly-Clark parking lot. Their 35 years he was employed. And we say, we're not going to get into it now because we have other chapters, and if we do, we say shame on Kimberly-Clark. All these young World War II veterans, when working at the paper company, what did that paper company make?
They made two-color papers. You could print on both sides.
What else?
And they made the other one on Royal Avenue made Kotex and Kleenex.
I see. So when Mr. Jeckovich was getting ready to retire, Kimberly-Clark pulled a real tricky move. It was legal, but it wasn't humane. They sold the company to a group in Canada. The Canadian operation took over the ownership, and then they filed, the Canadian operation filed bankruptcy. So as a result, all these young World War II veterans that put in 35 years of hard labor, good service to Kimberly-Clark were all cheated out of their pension, each and every one of them.
Never gotten this. The orders are still working on it.
Yeah, 80 years later.
That's all forgotten.
Yeah. Mr. Jeckovich, what are your views on work ethic?
At work ethics?
Yeah.
If you get a job, any kind of a job, you do the best you can. Be sincere about it and know that you know what you're doing.
Okay. Mr. Jeckovich, did you like high school, and what were your favorite subjects?
My favorite subject was English.
I see.
Mr. Oswald was my teacher.
I see. What tips would you give to young people today looking to finding a job?
Finding a job?
Yeah.
Well, you got to be qualified now. It's a merit system now. It's not knowing who you know. You got to be qualified. And know what the hell you're talking about. You got to know what your qualifications are.
That's a good point.
Merit system.
Mr. Jeckovich, when you were a youth, did you ever break the law?
No.
Mr. Jeckovich, when you were a youth, did you have any hobbies?
Hobbies?
Yeah.
Oh, I was doing woodworking. I was doing working around the house. I was doing. I did a lot of garden, cut the grass up and everything. And I had a strawberry plants up on the roof of on the garage.
Was that the roof of 3063?
Yeah.
How do strawberry plants come out?
Well, they come out good. They come out good.
Wow. Mr. Jeckovich, did you have any great hardships as a child?
As a child?
Any great hardships?
No. I just tried to help as much as I could at home. Looky didn't participate. Stevie was always gone. He was always either going to school or what.
I see.
But he was away from the family all the time.
Mr. Jeckovich, how has society changed since you were a youth?
Since it changed?
How has society changed since you were?
There's no code of family anymore.
Nothing.
Nothing.
10 seconds.
Everybody's for themselves.
Everyone's for themselves. Wow. So Mr. Jeckovich has seen 100 years of living. 100 years. He'll be 100 years this year, 2025. He was born in October 17th of 1925. And he's in perfect health.
Yeah.
He jogged for 80 years, never took a prescription, never took a vitamin, never smoked or drank, right? Wow. How much time?
40 seconds.
Wow.
We got another one in the books. What do you
Okay.
want to do now?
How are you doing now?
We got another one on the books. Studio time's up. What do you want to do?
You want to ask more quizzes in there?
We already ate up the studio time. What do you want to do?
We just watch Hump.
Okay.
Okay,
Time?
sounds good. 24 seconds.
What time is it?
Let me show you. It's still early, but the studio, someone else is coming in.
Yeah, that's
8:07. Well,
Yeah, we got,
Is it done?
no, 13.
who's coming in?
They, on the internet, they have another person that takes the studio time place.
Oh,
Yeah.
Okay, and